All right, we are back again with Chamber Chat, and this week we are pleased to have as a guest Eileen Underhill. She is the owner of Underhill Children's Therapy right here in the Magnolia area. Eileen, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you would just tell us a little bit about your story. What is, how'd you start your business and that type of thing?
Well, I started my training as a child life specialist. Those are people that work with kids and families in hospitals to help manage really challenging hospital situations, either with preparation before a procedure and all on a developmental level, or support after a difficult procedure. And I ended up, it's developmentally appropriate and it's some of it's play based. And I just expanded on that and ended up getting a master's in play therapy. And so now I'm a play therapist, and I'm able to work with kids outside the hospital on medical issues or any other kind of regular therapist counseling kind of issue. Um, and it's exciting because kids sometimes it's hard to understand what it is that's going on for them to be able to help them. And I like that with my developmental training and play knowledge of the importance of play for kids, I can maybe identify some things that are harder for them and help to figure out how to help kids, with whatever is going on. So.
Oh, nice. So, what would you say is unique about your practice?
My practice as a therapist that works with kids is that I'm uniquely equipped to work with kids on a developmentally appropriate level using play, because play is how kids process their experiences. And where an adult would use words and language to talk about their experiences and their feelings, kids play about it. And that's actually how they also learn about their emotional states as well, especially when they're with a play therapist. That's one of the benefits. I work with kids on a developmental level. Young kids typically will play out a lot of stuff. And older kids maybe will have some talking, but there's still some learning that can happen through experiences. And if you've ever watched a kid play, you will no doubt have seen elements of their daily lives or their real life experiences coming out in their play. Years ago, I worked with a kid who decided that he needed to be the dentist and he needed to look at my teeth. And I asked the parent if they'd been to the dentist recently, and they said, well, yeah, he had several teeth pulled. So he was playing out that experience. And if you think about how vulnerable you feel in that position, especially as a kid,
Right.
He needed to work on something there. And it's kind of a miracle that what seems like it's just play, really, it's the work for kids. It reduces anxiety and stress. They really can process through certain things that have happened to them. And for them, it just seems like they're playing.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
So, how did you go about choosing this line of work? What do you love about the industry that you're in?
Well, what I love is that I get to make a difference in kids' lives early on, and families' lives early on. A couple of my favorite quotes. One of them is, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." That's by
Oh, wow.
Frederick Douglass.
How
And
that?
I really feel like some subtle changes in a kid's experience and skill base, they're headed maybe this way, and this little shift changes the trajectory that they're on. And it maybe doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really can inform other choices that they make that take them in another direction that they might have gone had they not had the experience with play therapy. Another quote that I really like by FDR is, see if I can remember how it goes. Calm seas do not make a skilled sailor.
Mm.
So things are tough right now for everybody. And I think we can all take a little comfort in knowing that things that we learn in this time, if we can find some ways of adapting, I think we're all getting really creative with the way that we are handling stresses in our lives and obstacles.
Right.
But it really, especially for kids, they see how we're coping with stuff, and they're gaining skills that will help them later. So.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, we're dealing with some hard times. What have you learned specifically in regards to COVID in this era?
Well, I think being a parent is always challenging. And then if you're trying to work from home with kids at home and different ages and have different needs, maybe some of the older kids can be more on their own, but younger kids really need a lot more support and attention to do any kind of school at home. And if kids aren't able to see their friends, it's extra stressful for everyone. And parents don't have the same outlet that they've had in the past either. So I think, we're all finding creative ways of coping, some better than others. And my industry has adapted too. Most therapists, I think, are seeing people through telehealth, which is great. I mean, thank goodness we have that, right? We didn't have it 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Not to the level that we're able to use it now. And so a lot of therapists are using telehealth. I use telehealth, but I also, for select cases, do see kids in person because for younger kids, it's not as effective to do the talking, right? Because that's a lot of what you do. It's a lot of language, and it's not as experiential. And so. Yeah. So the way I've adapted is that there are some clients that I see in person, and I take all the precautions so that, there's enough time in between each person that I would see in person for everything to be clean, following all the protocols and wearing masks and all of that. So, yeah, that's kind of how I've adapted to that.
Awesome.
Oh, and I'm also working on getting some parenting groups together to support parents who are totally stressed out and maybe feel like they're the only ones and maybe don't have a lot of time for themselves or, people to talk to about what's happening for them, their side. So I do a lot of parent support with that.
That's awesome. I mean, every parent I know of is definitely going through it right now and trying to figure out how do you adapt. And, we all miss life the way it used to be.
Oh, yeah.
We all value our teachers more than we ever have because teaching and even just coming alongside a teacher is so much harder than ever imagined.
Yeah.
So that sounds extremely, extremely valuable to have those parent groups too.
Yeah. And I'll just have that on my website as they're developed. So,
Very cool. So to that end, if you would share with us, how do people find you, your website and so forth?
Well, my website is www.underhillchildrenstherapy.com. And I don't know if that's helpful, but so you can find my website there, and I have contact forms, I have resources, other information about what play therapy is and what child life is. And I'm located at the edge of Magnolia and in the Fisherman's Terminal area. If you know where Cafe Appassionato is, we're off that street. So, awesome. Yeah. I'll be happy to hear from anybody that has questions. So you want more info.
I'm wondering how many people may watch this and may think, well, I don't personally have that issue, but I sure do have a friend that is going through some of that right now. Very good opportunity to point them in the direction of somebody right here in our own community that's doing extremely valuable work to build those kids up and help them be successful long term. So
do what I can. Yeah.
Eileen, thank you so much for all that you're doing. Thanks for joining us today. We wish you the best and everything.
Thank you. Same to you.
Take care.